After reading up on current ethical dilemmas, I decided to research the Uber sexism scandal that rocked the company this past year. This February, Susan Fowler, a site reliability engineer at Uber, posted a haunting recollection of her experience working at Uber on her personal blog page. Her trouble began in 2015 when a manager tried to elicit sex from her. She reported this claim to HR, who told her that because he was a high performer, he could not be punished, and that it was only a one-time thing. HR said that they would give this manager a warning and that she was stuck working under him because now she would be negatively impacted in company politics because she spoke out. Her outrage continued when Fowler heard stories of that same manager sexually harassing other female engineers. These women were all told the same thing, that this was a one-time offense, the manager would be sternly warned, and that it was in their best interest to just forget about it. Even so, Fowler continued to take her time at Uber in stride, seeing it as a way to gain exposure and work on new, exciting projects. When the time came for her to propose that she would be transferred to a new team, however, Fowler's request was denied due to undocumented performance problems. As an actual high performer, Fowler was always punctual with her deadlines while publishing a book, speaking at highly trafficked tech conventions, and attending school. After asking for her performance review, she was told not to worry about it. However, none of this mattered until her review came back so low on her next performance evaluation that she no longer qualified for the educational program that funded her schooling through Uber. It was later discovered that a male manager lied on his review to keep her as a token female on his team, thus making him look better. After countless other skewed instances of sexism through email correspondence, Fowler found herself meeting with HR again. The only difference was that this time, HR had a serious discussion with her about her standing in these complaints. The HR rep who handled Susan Fowler's case told her that she was the commonality in all of these situations and alluded that maybe she was the problem. Shortly after, Fowler's manager called her in for a serious one-on-one conversation, saying that she was on thin ice for reporting her complaint to HR and that he could fire her too. Fowler said that this was illegal and was backed up by HR and the CTO through email correspondence. At this point, though, it was too late. This was the final straw for Fowler, and within a week she found a new job where she happily works at Stripe today as an engineer. At the beginning of Fowler's time working at Uber, the company was 25% female. On her last day, it was only 3%. I thought that this case was a great example of breach in ethics getting out of control. The company culture allowed for ludicrous behavior from high performers, even encouraged by the CEO, who eventually stepped down after these allegations, including a retreat to Las Vegas filled with cocaine and ended up with a manager groping several female employees. The post by Fowler opened the floodgates for allegations of lewd behavior between employees as well as company figureheads like I just mentioned. The lack of virtues and penalty within Uber allowed for this type of behavior. The lack of prudence that the men surrounding Fowler had was astonishing. This allowed them to feel confident enough to announce their slights and wild antics, making it admirable to act recklessly and irresponsibly at work. At Uber, there was no justice for the women who worked there. They were simply stuck in an unchanging situation. Their only real choice would be to quit. That being said, this case stresses the need for temperance in the business world. An ethical company is one that holds its employees accountable for their actions, praising them for their successes and disciplining them for their wrongdoings. If these employees were temperate, they would have restrained themselves from using Fowler as a pawn in their personal desires, whether it be sex or business. While it is important to take risks, there is always proper decorum that peers should hold each other to based on dignity. Finally, I believe that Fowler demonstrated the power of courage. Her blog post unveiled some wild things about Uber that no one in the public was privy to. She did this as a reflection on her time and a way to open up the conversation between women in STEM fields about sexism. Fowler was courageous. She embodied all other virtues in her decision-making and stuck to her guns. This post in itself gave her and the women at Uber justice. In sum, I heard about this article a couple months ago and still continue to use Uber, even talking to some of my drivers about it. I think that at this time, the only real justice, aside from the CEO stepping down, would be the negative media attention that Uber has faced. While they've had financial struggles due to the backlash and continue to face lawsuits, even the ones this week, they are still the top ride-sharing app in most U.S. cities and continue to beat their competition Lyft. If anything, maybe this is a case of people's willingness to overlook ethical dilemmas for a superior service. Regardless, this event could have been prevented if the company had operated with humility and dignity.